is there at Minnetonka, but he's just a good coach. You know, we have the opportunity at Buffalo to play them twice during the year, and with that talent, they play so hard, they play so well as a team. You would think that they would have some guys with maybe their own agendas with the talent they have. They don't do that. They play together, and I think that's a big credit to Sean and the job that he and his staff do with those kids. The other thing that I've noticed coaching against him is he's just got an intensity about him, and that was definitely on display last year when we crossed paths underneath Pagel, and he's walking with his head down, and he mumbles something to me, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't get it, but Aronson was behind him. I said, well, what's going on? And he's like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. But then I found out later that what he said to me was that he was ready to fight our entire parent section after the game if they wanted to. So he was ready to go with them. I don't know, one of our parents said something, Sean heard it as he walked off the ice, and he wanted all of them. So he's got an intensity about him that I think helps him behind the bench as well. But Sean is just a great coach and does a great job at Minnetonka. So thanks for being here and sharing with us today, Sean.
Can you guys hear me in the back? I lost my voice early in the week. Roger, we good? This is weird. You know, I consider all you guys my friends. So to speak with you guys like this is awkward. And I'm comfortable speaking in large groups because I've done it all my life, teaching, coaching, whatever. But I'm going to be here all day tonight, all day tomorrow, for most of tomorrow. I just like to have conversations and get better. I think this is when we improve. This is when Mike says we fight off that AAA market. We get better and we produce better players at a cheaper rate, so it's better. I would like to tell you guys about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Mike can kind of hear me now, he's talking to John, but I brought Mike in to speak to my current senior class when they were after their sophomore year. We believed after the sophomore year, the current seniors that were juniors last year, we thought this was our year coming up, that we were going to be legitimately a state tournament championship team. We were able to accelerate that maybe 6 months and able to beat some really qualified teams. But I had Mike come in. I called Mike, and he came in and spoke to my families, I think on a Tuesday night in the middle of the summer, and gave all that material. And I really strongly believe that's a big reason why we got in front of everything, and a big reason why every one of those kids is telling me he's coming back this year to play high school hockey. And a couple of those kids are on the NHL list, and they're playing in the Elite League right now. And Mike, you were really helpful in that, and I'm telling you right now, even if you have one kid, get him in the audience, surround it with the other families that are in their ear, and let Mike speak to those kids, because it starts our story as being the right story. And we all know that that narrative is going on all year against us.
Cool, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Glad to hear that. A couple ideas on that is, I'm happy to give this part of the presentation or different stuff virtually for all coaches, and maybe virtually for players and parents. So when we gave you Minnetonka, we can do a couple of virtual sessions for the whole state.
It was really helpful. And it just started that conversation when those kids were 16. So I know I'm an easy target. This is a year where we had just a wonderful year. A lot of people can point to it and say, geez, you just did a great job coaching. I think we all know after coaching for, now this is going into my 28th year, I would tell you that it was a good job for us, but my best job coaching might have been 3 years ago when we were just okay. And we finished 7-3 in the Lake Conference with a share of the Lake Conference title with Wayzata Edina at the same time. I think that's the year I should have been speaking, because that's the year we had a lot of stuff going on our team. We had a lot of side issues and distractions. We weren't very good, but we competed hard. We competed it as a unit, and we started to change the culture for the next year, which was this year that we just completed it. So I know when I used to stand up here and watch a guy that I used to respect a ton named Terry Skripek. Anybody remember Terry other than Bruce and Wes? Terry Skripek was just a legendary Hall of Fame coach at St. Thomas University. Kind of had won Division III, championships all over the place. And before that, he was at Hill Murray. And I remember getting a job at St. Olaf in '96. And I played against him, and I always thought Terry was really arrogant. He had really good players. They were really organized, and they competed really, really hard and unselfishly. And my first couple impressions of Terry was, boy, he's winning all the time. He must be an arrogant jerk. And he wasn't. He was one of the most helpful people to get my career going. He answered every time, called me back, helped me out with drills, made me a better coach, even though I was playing against him. So I know I'm an easy target because we have good players this year, and that's fine. But know that, I've been on the other end of it at St. Olaf. I had to figure out how to take really average players and get after it really hard and try to win. And I kind of like to think of myself, my wife says this to me, because I think about maybe 3-4 years ago we were watching Moneyball. You guys remember Moneyball? It's when Billy Bean kind of brought the whole idea of analytics and some things to how they were going to do it differently or more efficiently, and their yield of players had to be better. They had to win a different way with a growth mindset in Oakland. And then basically what happened about 3 years later, they just took that model and dropped it into Boston and broke the curse. Or now it's in New York, and now it's everywhere else, right? We've seen that evolve over the last 20 years. And I really feel that's what I've kind of done. I've taken all those struggles from 20 years at St. Olaf, where we had to be perfect every night. And I rarely got my top 20 recruits, like Aaron Johnson. I don't think you returned my call. Augsburg was in your blood, but you were going Division I and then there. But we never got our top kids, but we competed hard, and we did it right. We were connected, and we competed. We made the playoffs a lot, and we had a lot of success. And then every once in a while, we tripped somebody up. So what I learned and what I want to speak about today is I started pulling some things structurally that I knew I could work on in the off season. So when I was in season, I could just focus on the players, building trust, building relationships, and all that structural stuff is really important. So that's kind of my focus point today. I do think there's 3 things you need to strongly consider as you leave the conference this weekend. First thing, the best advice I got was from 2 guys, Kurt Giles and Jake Ennebeck. Everybody know those 2 guys? Okay. Jake Ennebeck's been at Lakeville North for a long time, and I turned down the job at Minnetonka after Brian Urick tried to talk me into it. I turned it down twice. I finally looked into it harder, decided it was a good fit because that's my hometown. And the first thing Kurt told me and the first thing Jake told me was, you got to get a hockey operations guy. And I was like, really? I've been doing the hockey operations by myself at St. Olaf for 20 years. And they said, you will not coach after 3 years if you don't. It's too hard. And I was able to get a guy with me right now, Tom Streeter. He's been in the back. He's been with me now. He'll be our 7th year together. We met mutually through some friends. And I can tell you right now, if you don't get a hockey ops guy, you will not be able to connect with your kids at the level you want to. It's too hard. And it releases you to do hockey stuff. It's just so much on our plate, right? So that's the first thing structurally you can do. And Tom does a lot of these things behind the scenes, and our people know it at Minnetonka. They love him. The kids actually like him more than they like any of us. Okay? Especially when he gets his dance on in the locker room. 2, I strongly recommend, I know Roger's in the back, but I strongly recommend my connection with USA Hockey, even though I'm a product of a Canadian, is have a growth mindset. One of the worst things you can do is say we've always done it this way. You gotta grow at the game. Don't let the old adage of hockey or the AAA hockey make us look like we're archaic. Learn. Come here, get better. Have a growth mindset on maybe what you might need to do a little bit differently. Not only on that season, but season to season. I think it's really important to have that growth mindset. The game's evolving. We all know that, right? It is. It's evolving. It's really skilled and super fast. You've got to learn and pick brains and ask guys. I know next weekend I'm going to spend 2 days on MEA break with Luke Strand and his staff at Mankato. And the following weekend, I'm going to go hang out with Brett Larson and his staff at St. Cloud State. I'm going to try to learn new stuff so it's not stale to my kids. You got to keep that connection. And then 3rd, trust your instincts. Know you're a good coach. You are good coaches. Trust what you know and make your plan, and then or plan your work and then work your plan. I had a coach in baseball named Jim Dimmick, who was like a father to me. He was in every Hall of Fame in baseball in the United States. And he would always tell us, we're going to plan our work and work our plan. Trust that you know what's best for your program. And every one of us has a unique situation. So with that, I'm going to buzz through this stuff, and then I think that's the best way to talk about it. And then I'm going to open it up, and we can talk about it now, or we can just spill into the social hour and keep talking about it. but there's some really good stuff here that has taken me 27 years to compile. So I'm kind of spilling at you, and the only guy I want to leave the room right now is Sean Bloomfield. Because Sean's got a hell of a program, and any secrets he has about us is probably bad for me and my program, okay? But with that, I just wrote down some things as we get up structuring the year. How do you attack tryouts? For us, our varsity tryouts, unfortunately, in my opinion, are almost 90% done. That is more getting ready for the season. We play Rosemount in 8 practices, right, Ricky? So we have to get that team ready to play Rosemount varsity. Our JVs probably don't get publicized on who wins that game. So 90% of that on the tryouts, varsity, we're pretty much almost starting practice immediately. And we'll make decisions from that practices. JV will be a different model, the more traditional model, because that's how we feel. 90% of the varsity team's probably set. The other 50% for JV is 50-50 right now for most kids. And I know your numbers change, but that's how we attack it. We have 2 tryouts working independent of each other. A couple kids might flip over, but for the most part, we have about 25 guys on the varsity start, and then the other group's gonna be almost 40 kids going for JV. Okay, and I'm just in front of that right away. Ricky?
What do you say to parents when that's the case? I mean,
I'm just
how do you
as
get that
candid as I can with it. We have a couple kids that flew back and forth that are fluid early on, but we're just trying to be as accurate as I can, and that's what I tell them in our first meeting. We're trying to be as true to the process, and we're trying to be as accurate on who makes what teams. Now, we don't have a senior on the JV tryout. We won't do that, obviously. Okay, so that's the first thing there. Roster decisions. I have a wonderful AD and a guy named Ted Schultz. We kind of came at this, and I was in that kind of set mindset or fixed mindset, and I told him, I just don't know if this is the right idea. But after all these years of being an AD, dealing with all these crazy parents on our side of town that are just really into it, he said, listen, for your varsity roster decision, leave 1 spot open. So if you normally carry 20, say carry 19. If it's 18 skaters, carry 17. Set it that way to start. And it might alter your locker room setting with stalls, if that's the case. But we did that, and what you end up doing is we found out is you're only promoting a kid, you're never demoting a kid. And you're never exposing yourself to more drama, which is distractions. We did that. We started doing that 2 years ago after a really tough year on me and our staff, and it's been a game breaker for us. So you're only promoting any kid that's on JV up to be part of varsity, and that might be fluid with 2 or 3 or 4 kids, but it's not set in stone, right? We've all seen that. So we started doing that. Ice time, we talk about our ice time. I don't know how to run a practice. On varsity practice roster, we go 15, 8, and 3. The only reason I do that is I just don't know how to run a practice with under 20 kids. That was my background at St. Olaf and in college. All the guys that taught me how to coach, I needed more numbers because we compete a lot more in practice. We need 8D on the ice. The reason why we need 8D is our D coach can't give feedback if they're cycling 6. We can't communicate, we can't use an extra line as a potential screen tip rebound or competing if we only got 3 lines on the ice or 4 lines on the ice. We went 5, it's a little hairy, you need to have multiple guys on the ice, and then we do 3 goalies. So with that, our JV might have fewer guys. So we kind of altered our ice time. As we all know, it's really difficult. And I would say 60% of our ice time is for varsity and 40% is for JV. And it doesn't seem to get too many kickbacks. And again, I'm just in front of it, Ricky. I try to explain to the families, hey, 60% of our players in our program are actually skating varsity practice. And that's what I do. It's different. People didn't like it. The first year they thought I was an idiot. And then we started having some success. And actually the fluid kids that thought they needed a chance to earn to get up were practicing with our top guys. I actually see it from a different angle. Those young kids that are really good sophomores that aren't quite ready to play varsity, they're learning what we do against better players. And they're also getting beat or maybe not having success in practice. So they're not the first one to say, hey, I'm scoring 6 goals on JV. Why am I not up? Well, you're -4 in practice on 2 shifts when we play against varsity caliber kids every day in practice. So that's how we do that. We call that sharing players. Those are like the bubble kids. It's basically one line. It's our top line on JV, our next 2D, and our next goalie. We've done this with some younger guys, and out of that group that we did that 2 years ago, 3 of them have a full ride commitment right now. We were able to get them into our system. They played JV games and practiced varsity every day, and that was a big game breaker for us. One kid's name is Claire's, the other kid's name is Gary. Those 2 kids are fantastic hockey players, but when they got to us, I think they combined weighed about $110. They were smaller than I was at that age. Dustin?
So how many total roster players you keep?
We carry about 40. We might carry a couple extra kids depending on those goofy windows. At the size of our program, every year we have about 2 or 3 Bantams that are too old to play Bantams. Or 9th graders that are too old to play Bantams. Did I say that right? Yeah. So there's a couple kids that are like, I'm in 9th grade, I don't want to go play junior gold. And we just explain it to them as more of a practice player window. It gives us a couple more numbers. And they carry, like we all used to do. It's shocking. You can actually carry your bag into the rink every day. Okay. And then we started adding with that inter-squad scrimmages on Mondays or Tuesdays on weeks that we might have a bye or on weeks that we felt like we needed more juice and more compete. And we'd actually bring down the 4th, 5th lines on varsity or 4th line of varsity all the way down, and probably our 7, 8D and all the way down, even our 6D sometimes. And we inter-squad for 25 minutes and we get after it. We put jerseys on, we ref it, and we go after it for 25 minutes straight, and we let them compete. And we have our whole staff watching, so the kids are like, yep, they're all watching. If I beat you, I'm in. And it's been really good for us. We only do that probably 4 or 5 times a year. It's probably every other week scenario, but it's a good way to kind of break up the monotony of the week. The next couple of things here are strength training. I only put that in because we do that on Mondays and Wednesdays. We do our video and positional meetings on Tuesdays and Fridays. I learned real quick that these kids' attention spans are really shorter than college. We used to do 25, 30, 45-minute video sessions in college because their guys are tired, but they need to learn. High school kids, as we all know, would rather watch NHL clips. So we started going to individual video meetings or line D pair positional meetings, power play meetings in very small groups. And we do those on Tuesdays. We don't kill them in video. I'm a big believer that after high school, they are going to get mauled with video. I mean, you saw how good Dane was this morning. He gave us 30 clips in 10 minutes. That's constant. The USHL, North American League, every junior team, they have so much time on their hands. They're going to kill them on video, and the kids will just check out. At our age, they need to skate, practice, work out, be a good teammate, learn how to create your culture positively. That's what we focus on. We don't do that much video. Tom, how many times did we do team video last year?
4 or 5.
Tops. And I think 2 of them were on Chanhassen. There you go, Sean. Game schedule, we're real lucky. Tom was able to get us in a schedule. We work in conjunction or synergistically with our women's team, our girls team. Say women's, it's girls. My daughter's on it. She's not a woman, she's a girl. But they play Tuesdays, Saturdays, we play Thursdays, Saturdays. That gets us into a really clean routine for the other stuff. Because now we get into that Monday, Wednesday workout. After practice, we'll throw yoga in there, and then our Tuesday videos. Game schedule really helps us out that way. I started focusing, the main focus I wanted to show you guys today was I really try to focus on living in the moment with these kids. There's so much to distract them, we all know that. I'm not going to talk about phones, but there's just so much on their plate. I don't send out our weekly schedule for ice time until the Sunday of that week. I do it on purpose because we might change it. And the parents all know it's coming at about noon on Sunday. Here's when we're skating, and it's subject to change always. We might be tired, we might want to scrimmage. I'm just never going to give them the out and say, well, it's on the website and it was out there since December and we planned Timmy's doctor's visit or something. No, we're doing this. This is the week we're doing it. We're going to figure it out. Obviously, there's exceptions. But I always talk about winning the week. So we break down the schedule basically into quarters. We all know we play 25 games, so I'm not dumb on math. But we break it into quarters. We go 8, 8, 8, and then playoffs. I learned that from my college years, and I also learned from the college years, win the week. You're only playing Augsburg this weekend. So 100% of your focus is on how do we beat Augsburg. They are not St. Thomas or St. John's, right? So we had to get really clear and shadow Aaron Johnson. Because if he didn't, he'd score 4 goals. So we literally stick a guy in his back pocket the whole stinking game. We take a power play and make it a 4-on-3. Well, there's Aaron, stand next to him. Hug him if you have to, okay? But we really think on focusing on winning the week. So what we did is I created a grade book. And it looks like this. And I highly recommend you look at doing this because it really helps you get laser focus. Roger told me just about an hour ago, he said, if you're asking your players to have laser focus and stay on task and live in the moment, then why are you not doing the same thing? They're going to emulate your behavior. So all my focus for the first week, probably the first 2 weeks because it's Thanksgiving week, right, is all going to be on Rosemount and Andover. Now, I'm not going to scout them. I'm not going to break down video on Ricky. Eyes are internal, but we're just going to work on that week. Everything we do is on that week. And then the next week, it'll be Stillwater and Eastview, as you see. And then it'll be Chan and Moorhead. And then it'll be Grand Rapids and Shakopee. And that'll be the first 8 games. And the reason why we block it at 8 is I do a grade sheet on the 10 things that I have found over 27 years to be really high predictors of winning success. Okay? And basically, they're all right there. You got to score more than 4. You got to give up less than 2. More than 35 shots. Less than 25 shots given up. I gave up the special teams are in gold. Power play over 25%. PK over 90 or over 80. Save percentage over 90. And then these other ones that I think are key are score first, lead after the second, and win the third. And we can all interpret those things differently. Some years they're different for me. Sometimes win the third is you're fatigued, so you got a condition board. Sometimes score first is you might just have a sleepy team. So how do you run practice? If you do your first 2 drills every day in practice that are boring, repetitive, and sleepy, they're going to get used to being sleepy the first 5 minutes of the game. And you're probably not going to score first, so now you're chasing. Okay? So those 8 games will give me data on where we're lacking. Does that make sense? So if our power play sucks, and we'll probably know it, then I got to put more power play drills into our practices, even more than I normally do, or I got to have more meetings with our power play coach, which is Steve Aronson, our forwards and power play. We got to really start having meetings and dial it in. We're out of position over something. Same thing with PK. Or if your goalie just can't make a save, then we might designate more ice time in practice for goaltending, which we do every year at the end of the year anyways, because you just can't win unless your goalie plays well. He has to play well. Okay? So I've just learned those 10 things, and then we mark them. We give it a number of 8 out of 10, and all I can tell you is if you get more than 5, you're going to win 95% of the time. The wins just happen. The process is working. And I don't even look at wins. I did not know last year, I seriously did not know last year that we went into the playoffs on a 14-game winning streak. And then we won 6 in a row to win it again, and we finished the year 20 in a row. I had no clue. And I had no clue that we won 29 games and went 29-2 and set a record at Minnetonka. I was so dialed into the next week. All I'm going to worry about is the next 2 opponents or the next opponent on the schedule. So here's what this looks like in a finished product. And I'm color needy. So blue is good. Orange is bad. On December 10th, Chanhassen kicked our ass. Pardon the French, delete that. Okay? We had 2. They hammered us in their building. We got exposed in a good way, really good way. We don't win and we don't get exposed that night, no question. But everything data shows we got beat on every special teams. We didn't score first, we didn't lead after 2, and we didn't win the 3rd. Boom, 2 out of 10. The kids see this, I put this in the locker room, tape it up, and they all walk by it every day. I put it on the mirror, and I put it in the shitter. They gotta look at it right over the urinal. Right there. If you're on the power play and the power play sucks, you know right away. Okay? And then you can see we got exposed again in January by Wayzata. In our building. First loss we had in a while in our building. Okay? And our kids had to listen to Pat's team sing and cheer and jeer us, and it just irked us. And it motivated us to win the rest of the game. That was it. But we were able to identify these things, and they were consistent. So at the end of the year, as I go down, you can see what we were good at. Now, it's hard to have a power play over 25% and score 2 power play goals a game all year. So that's always unrealistic to have that over out of 30 games, 31 games to be at the 2021. But we felt like last year we were the best defensive team in the state. We were really hard to score against. Our guys all bought in on it. Back checking, D-zone coverage. We worked on it relentlessly. We had good goaltending. We had deep blue line. We had unbelievable leadership. But it shows. On only one occasion did somebody have more than 25 shots against us last year. Once. 30 out of 31 games. That includes one of our scrimmages early in the year, if you get it. Shots, 24 to 31, but you can see in green what we did well. We led after 2 and won the 3rd almost every time. Bloomer, quit writing. Okay? But we work on scoring first, so I learned this. I look at this and I say, if you had to point this out, my wife would say, it looks like to me you need to work more on your power play, so Steve Aronson needs to figure it out, okay? And bring some new stuff and listen to Carl Gehring, which I was writing feverishly down about. Or we need to score first. You might have narcoleptic kids. Wake up. You're sleepy. So I started doing stuff this summer on the ice. We're going to do it right away. We started doing it at the end of the year last year. We started practice with a compete drill. And we're keeping score. Loser skates. Right away. Because the majority of the time, you come out of the locker room in between periods, right? There's no warm-up. It's first shift. First shift right now. So we started doing that, and most people tell you do that for fun. You know, we got to make it fun. Well, winning's fun. Last time I checked. Okay? Your culture's better when you win, and this is a predictor of winning. Be ready to play right now at the drop of the puck. Sometimes we won't even let the goalies get the pegs in the net. It's in goal. We're going full ice, cross ice, something. We're keeping score up to 3. We call it best of 3, up to 3. Loser skates. Right out of the chute. Boom. Monday. Boom. We are not waiting to wake up. And that starts to set the tone. So when we open up the first shift, first 5 minutes against Rosemount, hopefully we'll be ready to play. We won't be half asleep. Ricky will see our best right away. So that's the final product on what that looks like. I will go back. I'll talk to you guys. I can email you guys all this stuff. I learned this from John Harrington back in 1996. I learned it from Herb Brooks back in the 80 Olympics. So it goes all the way back from Harrington to Herb Brooks to Brian Riley for 80 years ago. Okay, the only guy that knows that is Bruce. Okay, because he's getting younger and still somehow has seen it all. But look back. The last things I want to point out here is when I said trust what you know. This is hard sometimes. Okay? Every year, I write down where I think our best lineup will look like at the start of the year. Once we get the tryouts done and we get through, and I write it down and I put it in an envelope and I throw it in there and I always forget about it. And what was amazing to me last year, for certain, the lines I predicted to win the state title were exactly the same that I thought was going to be in November. We wanted balance, we wanted depth, we needed our third line to be able to play against anybody's top line, and we needed our third line to score a goal, and we needed it too. Which is exactly what happened all year. Whenever we were tight. So trust your instincts, your line combinations, that's a calendar to me. I try to get two guys that I know play really well together, and I know everybody wants to play with Ashton Schultz, because Ashton Schultz is a fantastic hockey player. He reminds me of Bobby Brink. He's going to North Dakota, that's why I brought it up today. You're gonna see him in about 3 years, maybe in 2 years. He's that good, okay? And everybody on our team wants to play with him, and so do I. I'd love to be his left wing this coming year, because I wouldn't have to do jack squat but get open and put it in the net, okay? But trust your line combinations and then create some space where you can try different guys around it. It motivates all your players. Your lineup shouldn't be the same when it starts the year and it ends the year. It shouldn't be the whole way. Create some opportunities that keeps it fresh for your kids. The other thing, this is an argument with me and Coach Aronson consistently, is I always want 3 power play units practicing, maybe not in a game, but practicing at least through Christmas. And the reason why is I learned the hard way that you can't change a lineup if one of the kids is on the power play, and it will alter your special teams that you know is so critical to winning that you're so scared to take a kid out of the lineup because he's on the second power play. Even though he's not working, he's playing selfish, and he doesn't deserve it. Yet your fourth line kid who hasn't seen one PK all year or one power play all year is 8 weeks behind on coaching, and there's no way you're going to put him in, even though everything in your being is that kid should be playing more than the other kid. We all been there, right? Used to drive me nuts. So don't be afraid to have 3 power play units, and then eventually after Christmas we narrow that down to 2. And then what beautiful about that is, now when one of your kids gets injured on the power play, your whole power play doesn't go to crap. You have a guy that's learned it, that knows the routes, that knows the retrievals, knows the changes, and you can just plug one guy in. You guys hear me on that? It's really, really important to do that. And I finally convinced Steve Aronson that last year, because some of our best power play guys at the end of the year were guys that were the 3rd unit to start the year. And I'm thinking of a kid named Luke Gary. It was just fantastic all year. And then I also figured out that we probably should have had Danny Clares running one of our power play units, because apparently he was doing it for the 5 Nations team this summer, and we didn't even have him in the power play. So how stupid are we? Okay? And then last, playoff calendar. At 8, 8, 8, and then playoffs. We all get to make the playoffs. In college, that's not the case. At St. Olaf, if we crapped our bed in November, it didn't matter if we ran the table, we still couldn't get in the top 5. So you had to play to win early at all costs. At high school, we're all going to make the playoffs. Coach during the year and then turn it into the playoffs when we get into late February. Then you'll do that. One of the best guys at doing that I'm aware of in the room is Wes Bowen. Okay? He's not concerned about winning in November and December. He's coaching his kids up to be really good at the end of the year. And he just told me today, I didn't even know this, Wes, you didn't get scored on 5-on-5 against Stillwater and Hill Murray. That's impressive. Okay, so Wes is coaching all year with the in mind that your playoff calendar's there. And then now you can start to isolate who are we starting to figure out how to beat when it matters. We're lucky in Minnetonka. We get exposed 2 or 3 times a year with our schedule by the Dinas, the Wyzetas. Chan did it to us last year, and it helped us get ready for the end of the year. And our guys knew we weren't going to win it if we were trying to score 6. We had to defend first, limit them to 1. 1's what you were going to get, and then we were going to work really hard for 2 or 3. That's what our guys have bought into. And that's a culture that starts with how we map things out during the year, and then I, in my ultimate stubbornness, will not deviate from it. And fortunately, right now it's working. 3 years ago, everybody in Minnetonka wanted to run me out of town after my 3rd year, and I had already won the first state championship there that nobody had done in 65 years. So I was already stupid after 3 years. And I guarantee if something doesn't happen perfect this year, I'll be stupid again, and I'll probably be asking for a job coaching one of your JV teams. Okay? Because then we'll get stupid again. Okay? But we're not. We learn and we keep getting better. That's that growth mindset. I'm here the rest of the week. You got any quick questions on any of this? If not, I'll be more than happy to share a Coors Light with one of you guys and talk to you about how we do things. And I know that we're Minnetonka. I don't want to hear that. Okay, my daughter grew up playing in Northfield. Nothing's more proud for me last year than watching the Northfield boys have an outstanding year with Mike Luckraft, because I taught the entire team how to skate. They were all that tall with my daughter. Okay, so I get Northfield too. Okay, and I get losing. I was at St. Olaf for a long time. Okay, I was. I mean, I understand what the grind that Buffalo with Aaron's got to go through, and go through the Minnetonka, Edina, Eden Prairie. Was that a grinder in January, and then hit rinse and repeat and do it again? And then maybe only win one game out of the last 8 and still keep your kids pushing, because you might have a chance to win Section 8, right? Okay, and Jared Johnson did it at St. Michael. He's back there too. Okay, so we're in this together. That's one thing Pat O'Leary taught me about 3 years ago. In my intensity, Pat and I had a moment in the hallway. Aaron and I were, I got challenged by a Buffalo parent. It wasn't my best moment. Probably should take it back. But Coach Aronson did ask the guy to sign the waiver and meet him at Quick Trip, so I'll leave it at that. I had a good laugh. And that's what I mumbled at you. I said, Aronson just asked the guy to go to Quick Trip and sign a waiver. But Pat and I did that. And Pat came to me at the end of the game and said, we're both super competitive, but we're so into this together, and we're all more important about making high school hockey better. And they're going to elevate, Jay's team at the end of the year, or Matamidai, or me, or Kurt. But in reality, we're all kind of making each other better, and we make such a great product. High school hockey is so much better right now than it was 20 years ago. I tell my guys daily, I would have to cut myself. And I was the captain of the team in 1990. I wouldn't even make my own high school team anymore. That's how good our players are now, across the board. So we're doing a great job. It's not a stroke fest. Don't go out of here and think you're the greatest ever. We got to learn. We got to get better the rest of the weekend. We'll watch some really good hockey tonight, and then we get to share comments together. I know some of you guys have made me better coaches, and I've learned so much from guys like Andy Murray, Tom Ward, and I have been really good friends for a long time. I just go around and just learn so much from everybody. So thank you for having me. I'm here all weekend. Any questions about anything specific right now for the room? I drew the worst time. It's right before social hour. So I totally get it. We got food and beer, and let's walk around. Thank you. Thank you.